Alright, guys, we got a little special edition, little condensed version of the Collar and Elbow Wrestling Podcast with me, Kenny Oak, and my main man, Chris the Beast Harris.
Like Dan Severn?
Yes, one of the most God, he was so
Man,
good.
talk about a combat sports athlete that doesn't get talked about enough.
No one wore more belts to the ring.
A lot of belts.
Than him.
And Cornette?
Yes, it was Cornette.
Yeah.
Nice, corny.
Good times there. I'm not
we
the
don't
Beast,
talk about him enough.
But we need to. That's an entire show.
Okay, it could be. And he might appreciate that because we have a lot of glowing things to say about. Oh, Bubs, big update. Bruins just scored. It's 1-1.
Oh, yeah, I was waiting for that to make it on the podcast. That's great for you hockey fans joining us here.
Bubs, I've rediscovered the love and passion I had for hockey, and I don't know why I ever stopped watching.
I can't hold a good conversation with you about hockey.
Okay.
Because I generally
You're
don't
not Kyle.
like it.
I'm
not Kyle. Big plug.
Yes.
For Kyle.
We used to watch so much hockey in Afghanistan. If I wasn't watching wrestling or Ghost Adventures with you, I was watching hockey with one of the original Bubs.
It's true. He's an OG Bubs.
He actually
is
the original Bubs. Like, me and him were the original Bubs.
Kyle. Got good stuff there as well.
All right. As I was saying, we have a condensed version of the show today where we're going to be talking real quick but in depth about some really good topics. And, I know you wanted to start off with something in particular, so I'm going to let you take the lead here.
I want to get it out of the way because I've been holding it in for a while. I tried to get my frustrations out on Twitter. They got worse as that happens.
They did. It got me frustrated, actually.
When you interact with some of the internet wrestling community, hashtag IWC, you learn some people's opinions. And, of course, it's great to have, but some people are just
there's some really good opinions and some things that I have seen that people have posted. I'm just like, that is a really good idea.
Yeah.
But what we saw today was not so much. And I'm not on Twitter much, but that made me hop on and have to say something.
Yeah. So we ran into some of that because I threw out the idea and the conversational topic that we're going to lead off with here, that Charlotte Flair, get yourself over there.
Excuse me.
All right. That Charlotte Flair deserves to be in the main event WrestleMania match between Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch.
Okay.
So now, there's a lot of words that we can use. I threw out the word deserves, maybe not the right word.
Big of a word, I think.
Maybe she should be for ratings or popularity purposes, or
I think it's believable and acceptable.
Okay, and is it an acceptable thing? I put the poll out there as well. It's doing well, and a lot of people are against it because I am for it, and we'll talk about why. And Bubs will. Oh, good hockey update.
Yes,
just real plug right there for you YouTube
Boston
fans.
Just scored. Come on, Rangers.
Interrupting my shit. But we're going to talk about it, Bubs, because I want to know where you sit. Because we're in the minority. At least I am, because I'm for this.
You are for sure.
Yep, and I want to throw it out there, and I want to get some feedback here outside from Twitter. So you guys listening right now or hearing this up, hit me back on the old Twitter machine at CAE Wrestling, and let me know your thoughts because we're kind of trending in that direction. Because on Monday Night Raw, they're doing the remake, for lack of a better word, of Austin versus McMahon. We're getting Lynch versus McMahon. Don't hate it, but
Hemsley.
Yeah. So I don't hate it, but it's pretty obvious, but it's okay. I don't like the comparison of her to Austin.
There is a lot of parallels right now between
extreme parallels
between her run right now and Austin's run in '97 through '98. And remember, the big thing, the big mainstream part of that was Austin and Tyson. Tyson was a part of that. Ronda Rousey has been compared to Mike Tyson from day one, so the parallels run deep.
A lot of WrestleMania 14.
Ronda Rousey does, and Ronda Rousey does have a strong mainstream following.
Yeah.
So you want to push someone into the stratosphere of the wrestling industry, you have them face to face go up against a megastar like Ronda Rousey. That maybe she was never as big as Mike Tyson, but for being in MMA and women's MMA, which had zero following, until, I mean, Gina Carano did her best to build up that division, but it didn't really take off until Ronda Rousey hit the mainstream. But she brought it into she brought big viewership into. She main evented multiple UFC cards.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is a strong way for WWE to book Becky Lynch.
And what we're seeing is she got suspended from WWE on Monday for not getting medically cleared and going to see the medical staff and things like that. So it seems like that she's fighting the boss power, the anti-hero type stuff that we saw with Austin versus Vince McMahon back in the day.
Stephanie.
She hit her. She also hit Hunter the next night.
How long have we been waiting for Stephanie to get her comeuppance?
Since day one. She'll never get it, though. I don't think anyone will ever get it. Yeah. But we're also making a couple assumptions here with this. We're assuming that WrestleMania 35 will be closed out by that match, and that's not a certainty yet.
No, it's not.
We certainly think that it should, because there's no other emotionally captivating feud right now that's anywhere close to that. As much as we all like Rollins, the feud with him and Brock is
the only thing that makes that match go on last is Brock being there.
Yeah. So with the assumption that they're going to do this groundbreaking main event with the two of them, I'm throwing out the idea that even though I still believe in kayfabe as much as every diehard wrestling fan does, it's not believable whatsoever for me to think that Becky Lynch can beat Ronda Rousey clean in the main event of a WrestleMania, and I think it has to be clean.
But that's what makes this such a compelling matchup and such a compelling story, because that's what pushes Becky Lynch over the hill, over the hump, makes her that big star, is winning a match against Ronda Rousey like this. Now, I also don't, Ronda Rousey has been booked in a way that, she seems almost unbeatable. She's been unbeatable since last year's WrestleMania, but she does a very good job selling to the point where she does make it believable that the person that she's in the ring with has a legitimate chance, until she kind of kicks it into that high gear and puts them away. Now, Becky Lynch has been booked in a way that she's not someone you could just put away. Unless you're Asuka, but that's something.
To a point, because you just made my other point, was she tapped out clean to Asuka at the Rumble. So WWE has backed themselves into a corner where they have painted the picture of Ronda as nearly unbeatable, because she's only let a few people have legit comebacks against her, and
they did that with Asuka, and they had no problems having Charlotte beat Asuka at WrestleMania.
Do you think it's... So the compelling story part, I'm cool with, because it is interesting. I'm very much behind Becky. I love the idea of what she's doing. If she were to tap out Ronda, would that be believable for you? Or are you obviously believing that Ronda, given her character and her real life skills, can she honestly lose to a Becky Lynch? Because I can't buy that part. That's the real main reason why I say that Charlotte has to be introduced into the match, because that allows Becky to beat Charlotte in the match, thus taking the title as well from Ronda.
So that is a believable scenario, which, this is what we've kind of been talking about, is you think Charlotte Flair absolutely needs to get put into that match, where I believe that it would be okay if she's in the match, and it does make sense, the scenario that you're painting, but I don't think that she absolutely needs to be in that match to make it work. I do feel that there's a couple different ways WWE can go with this. One, they could just want to have Ronda Rousey become the women's version of Brock Lesnar. She goes away for a while, comes back, wrecks shop, leaves, rinse, repeat. Kind of what Brock Lesnar does. And, maybe having her lose clean in the middle of the ring, possibly tapping out, could kill some of that aura. But who's to say Ronda Rousey will come back? Who's to say that WWE has learned from their Brock dilemma that they have? Because it is a problem that they have with Brock Lesnar. So there's so many different ways that this can go, and that's what makes this so exciting and so compelling. And that's why I think it should be a one-on-one match, because you honestly have no idea how it's going to go. You throw Charlotte Flair in there and you go, okay, Charlotte is the one even if it doesn't happen that way, you're automatically thinking, okay, Becky's going to win, and they're going to have Charlotte take the loss.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have Becky versus Rousey, then the intrigue is there. The options are open, and you don't really know exactly what they're going to do, which to me makes it must-see more than a triple threat match would be.
Right.
And we all imagine the pop that Becky Lynch gets, and that's what WWE really wants, is to get the pop from the crowd, because they haven't gotten that at WrestleMania in a while.
It's been a while.
Probably
so you could,
since Seth Rollins cashed in.
You can believably buy into her actually beating Ronda clean? Like,
Yes.
that's something you'd be okay with?
I can, and I would be okay with that because of how they've been booking Becky. I think they've done a tremendous job setting up this match and setting up this run that Becky has been on.
Right. Now back to the deserving word real quick.
Okay.
The one constant since the women's division has exploded has been Charlotte Flair. There's no question about that since the NXT times.
Deservingly so.
Right. Sasha wasn't it. Bayley hasn't been it.
No.
Becky has been up and down. Becky's had a great last 6, 8, 9 months for sure. So when I threw out the deserving word, the reason that I brought that up is because if we're talking about a first ever situation,
First ever women's main event, who
Right.
else would you believe,
Right.
like who else deserves to be in that spot other than the true MVP of the women's
Right.
division? And
that's kind of why
completely-
I put that out there, because she deserves to be in the spotlight, and everyone counters that with no, she's been given everything. She's in every main event. She
Yeah.
wins every time, which is
what
necessarily
someone was
true,
saying
but-
today on Twitter, which I had to kind of dispute, because like he was saying that Charlotte Flair is overrated and has been shoved down our throats, which I completely disagree with. If anything, Charlotte Flair is anything but overrated. Could you make the point that she's been shoved down our throat? Sure, but she still gets the reactions from the crowd. She puts on the best matches in the women's division. She is her father. Honestly.
who everyone calls the GOAT. So
Exactly. And if anyone was shoved down our throats in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, it was Ric Flair, but we were okay with it.
yeah,
I mean, I wasn't alive, but from what I hear, people were okay with it.
generally people accepted it,
Yes.
just like Hulk Hogan as well.
Oh, well, no, I
So,
don't accept
even
that.
worse
I was
case.
alive for a lot of that.
Now you don't buy it? Okay.
No.
But I throw that out there because if we're doing a first ever thing, I kind of want the best match as well. Like, I want it to be fully well-rounded. I want something unique, and we never, hardly ever see a triple threat main event anymore, except for obviously Seth Rollins cashing in. And then when was the last one beyond that?
Ooh.
So
A true
Ray
triple
Orton
threat.
and Kurt Angle didn't even main event. They were second from the top. So
When Rey Mysterio won his championship at WrestleMania, wasn't that a triple threat match?
it was a triple threat, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the end card though. It was the second from the top.
Who
So we
main
might
evented that year. I don't remember.
probably Triple H.
Probably. That's
Yeah,
a good
it's
point.
him. It's him or Cena. You can take a guess. But we might have to go back to WrestleMania 20. My point is they don't happen often. So why aren't we making this the greatest of all situations? Triple threats are rare, and if you want anybody who simply deserves to be in the match by the resume that she has and everything she's done for that division, the answer is Charlotte. So everybody's mostly countering you with, well, no, Becky's the best thing going right now, and Becky
Yes,
is.
she is.
But let's be objective for a little bit.
Why-
Becky's only been the best thing going for the last
Okay,
9 months,
well,
not for
that's
the past
fine.
4 years.
Okay, Stone Cold wasn't the best thing going for 2-3 years. Stone Cold was the best thing going for, there was about a year span. From WrestleMania 10, when the double turn between Stone Cold and Bret Hart, that started just the skyrocket effect of Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's when he really started to take off, when he had the promos with Vince McMahon. That's when he really started to take off. You don't have. That's the beauty of wrestling. Things don't have to be built up for years and years. Like, once you catch lightning in a bottle, you hold on to it. You don't open up that bottle until a moment like this. And when Ronda Rousey taps to Becky Lynch, the bottle, you don't have to open up the cap because the bottle's going to explode.
Big pop.
Huge pop.
I can't wait for someone to fact check you and call you out for saying Austin and Brett happened at WrestleMania 10. By the way,
hello.
So get that right because we know better.
Sorry,
but it's okay. He's sick, folks. Don't blame him for that one.
I have a baby that's sick, and I know what happened at WrestleMania 10. Brett went up against Owen and then lost to Owen actually, and then went on to beat Yokozuna for the title.
Look and see, he backpedals and he corrects himself. So that I appreciate. And listen, Thank
people, you want to talk about Becky being made weak because she lost to Asuka.
Yes.
Bret Hart lost on the same night he won the title at WrestleMania 10.
He didn't tap though. He lost to in Sunset Roll or whatever, the Victory Roll.
Oh, it was a great match. One of the best WrestleMania opening matches of all time.
A good one there.
Austin Hart at WrestleMania 13. I got this. Okay. I'm back on track now.
All right. So Bubs, if she gets added to the match, do you hate it or are you okay with it, just in general?
I'm okay with it. I don't hate it. I'm okay with it, but I prefer it to just be Becky Rousey.
Okay, and are you on board right now, even though we got some time, are you on board with that being the main event of WrestleMania 35? Based on what we have going right now as far as the feud itself, the emotional buy-in into Becky, the semi-heel heat that Ronda gets as of late, mostly just beat by anti-Rousey people because they're pro-Becky. But are you on board with it as the main event right now?
Because of how it's being built, because of the attention that it's giving above any other storyline, and because it spans 2 different shows,
right?
I think it does deserve to be the main event of WrestleMania.
That will be huge, and it's going to be one of the most exciting things to watch. Because Becky has to win, right? If she doesn't win...
You cannot do that, WWE.
Don't say that because we've been wrong before. Insert Tetsuya Naito. But we expect the absolute greatest things to happen.
I really thought Naito was going to win.
I know.
God, I hate that happened.
But can you imagine the anger, though? This is one of those things, like, it's beyond Brock Lesnar winning at WrestleManias now. If she were to lose somehow, by heel or clean fashion, the fans, Bubs.
It would be over. Like that crowd.
They would burn New Jersey down.
All Double or Nothing turns from like 17,000 to 35,000. Just like that. They have to change it from the MGM Grand Garden Arena to a stadium to where
to accommodate.
Yes.
Oh, the pay-per-view buys are huge. We're all canceling the network, but now we're all serious for the first time.
No, that would be the serious canceled WWE. Right. # cancel subscription, whatever you want to call it. That would be atrocious.
But we'll get there. We're going to talk that build as we start talking WrestleMania over February and March, Bubs. But away from that, I'm glad we got to talk about it. So hit me up on Twitter about that. We got a lot of details to discuss with it. I know you wanted to get in.
Twitter links right there, guys.
Follow them, look at them. You wanted to talk a little bit about the... I don't want to make fun of it. It's not a wrestling promotion yet because they haven't wrestled.
But they have a show scheduled in May at the MGM Grand Garden Arena.
Okay, All Elite Wrestling, Bubs. Yes. Big stuff tomorrow.
Double or Nothing.
A lot of stuff going on tomorrow. We're going to get some type of conference, I guess, is the right word.
Yes, it's a ticket party tomorrow, Bubs.
Yeah, ticket party.
Yes. Where we assume that there's going to be some major announcements on signed talent. We are all expecting this to be the official announcement of Kenny Omega signing with AEW, and maybe some matches finally being announced for Double or Nothing.
Right, so we can start actually believing in the card now and start buying for a reason.
Right, because it's only a couple months away, so...
I would like to start seeing something.
Yes,
like
we would like for the hype to start. You don't have to have the entire card fleshed out right now, or even within the next month it doesn't need to be fleshed out, but we would like to see some of the talent that they have signed and some of the matches that they are preparing to have, and whether that's going to start any kind of storylines, whether there's going to be any kind of lead-in to the show. Are they going to use Being the Elite as kind of their de facto show until they get a TV deal? That kind of thing. So there's a lot of exciting, interesting, whatever kind of verbiage you want to use, stuff that will come out of tomorrow's ticket party for AEW's Double or Nothing. Right.
What I'd like to see primarily is I want them to talk about the titles that they're going to have for the show, because they don't
think that's
necessarily.
going to
I don't think they're going to build matches either, because we don't. There's fucking 12 people that work.
I don't think there's going to be any titles for this card. Honestly, I don't think they're going to start doling out titles until they have an actual show that they're preparing.
Like waiting for TV type of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Oof. Okay, even if we don't get that till the end of the year, there has to be a reason to buy into the feuds and invest.
Because you're not going to put the title. You're not going to create a title and put it right away on Chris Jericho.
No.
I mean, you've got to have some kind of build to this. Now, I'm sick and tired of tournaments. Over the last few years, there's just been tournaments left and right. So if we can avoid that, that's fine. But I don't think now's the time for titles to be announced.
Do you think that we get Kenny Omega finally, though, so we can quit talking about it?
Yes, I want it to happen just so we can finally say, okay, it's over. I'm tired of speculating whether he's going to be showing up at WWE or he's signing with AEW, which we all believe he's signing with AEW, which is probably going to be wrong because we're never right about anything. But I do think that's
what if they wait till Double or Nothing?
And he just shows up?
And he just shows up type of thing. If they keep it so quiet, which they really, like you said earlier before we started, they haven't necessarily kept it quiet, right? He hasn't been out of the spotlight. He hasn't been not seen.
At quite often. He's on the Being the Elite show still, and a big part of it. And I don't think they're just going to... I mean, I know they're friends and all, but it doesn't make a ton of business sense to keep throwing him out there and, parading him around if he's not going to be part of your promotion. Right.
Sooner or later. I don't want it to happen. I'd rather just get it over with. That way we can speculate. Because he's the big draw, right? And if anybody's going to be involved
in
whatever... He's
the big wrestling draw. I don't think... Chris Jericho might be their biggest mainstream draw that they have, and even that, Chris Jericho was never a huge mainstream star. He still isn't. But he's the closest thing they have right now to a mainstream draw. But Kenny Omega is your ultimate wrestling fan draw.
Mm-hmm. The last week or so, there's been a lot of course, speculation from dirt sheets and everywhere else that AEW is offering major money to people that are already contracted WWE wrestlers, trying to pull them over. Like Orton.
Randy Orton. That would be interesting. I would love to see that just because of Randy Orton's attacks on indie wrestling.
I know, right?
Years. I think that would be great.
And what I wanted to bring up was he was one of those specifically, and I want to ask about the Usos too. But let's take Orton as an example, and let's say something like that were to happen. These guys that are well-established stars like Usos, Orton's creeping up on 20 years in the company type guy, 13, 14-time world champion. So what does guys like him risk if they leave WWE, go work AEW, considering it's going to be viewed as the rival, for lack of a better word, even if they don't get necessarily big? Do people like him put a lot of things at risk, like Hall of Fame inductions, if they care about that?
That's the only thing, and I was going to bring that up. That's the only thing I can think of that they're really risking, because if the money is comparable...
I was thinking about documentaries, too, and other type of merchandise things.
Randy Orton's already had his documentaries on the network right now.
He has tons, but even like younger guys like the Usos who still have 10+ years to work, what are they risking if they were to jump ship?
I mean, honestly, the original answer to that question was money. They're risking the money, and now, from all intents and purposes, from all the accounts that we're hearing, money doesn't seem to be a big issue with AEW and people signing with AEW. So, honestly, I would say, like someone like Randy Orton, maybe you're costing yourself an earlier induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. He's going to get inducted at some point because he is going to retire from wrestling. Mm-hmm. And, right now we're completely speaking hypothetically. I don't think Randy Orton goes anywhere. I think this is a complete negotiation tactic. I think all of these guys, even the Usos, are using this as a negotiation tactic.
Which they should be. This is great business.
That's why I don't understand people who are just taking a dump all over WWE in favor of AEW, and people who are wishing that AEW fails, because what this does is, and I've said this, how many times have I said this? The people who benefit the most from AEW being successful are the wrestlers themselves.
Yes.
Even if they don't go and wrestle with AEW, they can use AEW as a bargaining chip, just like WCW was used as a bargaining chip, just like WWF was used as a bargaining chip against the other. So it's brilliant, honestly, for the wrestlers. This is a win-win. Because, let's say you don't get the money you want from one and you get it from the other. It's like, okay, I'm going there now.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Do you think there's anybody with a legit shot to actually, like an established star from that roster that would legitimately up and leave? Like a lot of tag teams are talking about going, the Revival, they could definitely go.
But they aren't legit stars.
No, so someone on that Orton level. Is there anybody or below him? Because he's top notch. Like you have to think about what his resume looks like. So
right? there's the Cena level, which is really only Cena. And then there's the Orton Mysterio level right there, below Cena. So thinking of that Orton, Mysterio, Hardy kind of level, and even Orton's above those two.
Those guys are such loyalists to the brand.
They are, and that's why I don't see them leaving, which is why it would be such a big coup if AEW could pull off something like that. But an established star, well-established star, leaving WWE for AEW, I can't think of anybody, honestly.
No, there's no one on that level. There's a lot of the mid-card, maybe guys that have worked the top before that could certainly go because the WWE roster is packed and overflowing with talent.
If a Dolph Ziggler leaves, no one's going to think that that's a huge signing for AEW.
I think a lot of the internet would. I think they would like a Dolph
because
Ziggler.
They would want, because
all the super kicks.
But here's the thing: they would assume that Dolph Ziggler's finally going to get his due, but says who? He'll go and do the exact same thing in AEW that he's been doing in WWE. He might get a title run just because of his name, just so he could put over somebody else. Yeah. One of those things. AJ Styles definitely isn't leaving WWE. He's made it clear that his time as a wrestler is coming to an end. Within the next year or two, and he wants to work backstage in kind of like a road dog kind of position. So I don't think AJ Styles will be leaving for AEW. And people will then say, well, no one thought Chris Jericho would go, but it makes more sense for a Chris Jericho because look at what he's been doing over the last year, going to New Japan, kind of doing his own thing, branching away from WWE. And he's always going to be a part of the WWE kind of lore and, the WWE family. From what you hear from Vince McMahon, he's not upset. He's not mad at what Chris Jericho did. Chris Jericho's going to end up in the WWE Hall of Fame at some point. So that wasn't too surprising. I don't think that there's much up their sleeve with a big splash. Maybe there's some mid-card talent like you're talking about, but other than that, I don't see it.
No, it's going to be that, and it's going to be tag teams, people from maybe the 205 roster, guys that just want to go and do other things, which I'm totally cool with. Branch out, go do some other stuff, because I want some people to leave WWE because they're underutilizing talent. They're not letting guys go to the top that really should, and guys that are at the top maybe need to work down a little bit and go back and forth. But I don't know. It's all still speculation.
It's intriguing. I'm excited for tomorrow. You might not be, but I am.
I want it to get over with. I've been waiting for the next announcement since we did the first one in January.
That's true.
But
this is how it's supposed to be. This is how you don't lay all your chips on the table right away. Okay, so this is a smart way for them to continue to build to this show, keep the excitement up, because you put everything out right away, then you're excited for that first little bit, and then that kind of dwindles away. If you just keep giving us a little bit and a little bit, and you're not giving us the biggest stuff right away. You don't give your biggest matches until towards the end, to when the hype is at its peak.
Yeah.
So
I did want tomorrow to be something significant, though. Just something in the next step, like we're talking about. Give me the next big splash, because everyone's paying attention to now all these AEW conferences, so they're all being taken as very serious. want it to come. I want to see what's next. I want to be able to talk this on a more legitimate level so we can quit speculating and talking on potential and shit like that. Because then it becomes fun when we get to actually talk about the Double or Nothing card and we can actually build to it. But good stuff. I'm excited for tomorrow, Bucks.
Yes. And I'm excited in general for AEW, for Double or Nothing, and to hear some of the matches that will be announced soon, I believe, as soon as tomorrow. But honestly, AEW is best for business in general, best for the wrestling industry, best for all the wrestlers. Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey in a singles match as the main event of WrestleMania is the best for business, and it's one of those things I hope they don't announce until towards the end of WrestleMania season.
Okay.
But yeah, those are my thoughts on those two topics. Any last things you want to throw out?
No, that was it, Bubs. I just wanted to get a quick chat in with you. A little Wednesday discussion is always nice for Wrestle Talk 101, episode 60. Finally, as we start to climb through this grind of the slow burn, it's getting more consistent, and brand
burn
expansion.
is still as slow as possible.
It's as slow as possible,
but we're doing slowest burns. We are the slowest growing wrestling podcast out there in the world today, and really, you can't get that kind of action anywhere else than here on the Collar and Elbow Wrestling Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us as always. You can hit us up on Twitter. All the Twitter handles are right there. At CAE Wrestling is the main one. You can hit us up on Facebook, Collar and Elbow Wrestling, with that ampersand, as you can see right there. We're always joining in the conversation. We love talking to you guys, and you can see all kinds of polls and fun stuff on our Twitter and on Facebook. You can catch this on YouTube, on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, I think now.
All day. That's right.
Spotify, right?
Working on it. Yeah,
that's coming soon.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Coming soon. Thank you to Anchor for sponsoring the show and keeping us alive. Really, and
so in the black.
I know. We're actually more in the black now than we've ever been. So thank you for that, Anchor. And thank you guys, as always, for watching. We're the Collar and Elbow Wrestling Podcast, and together we're going to make wrestling great again. See you guys next time.